Hey guys, welcome back. So today I want to talk about anxiety and the dreaded high blood pressure issues and symptoms that seem to go hand in hand with really bad anxiety. I was no stranger to getting really bad readings whenever I would check my blood pressure or a doctor would check my blood pressure. It was really something that troubled me a lot. I had really bad heart anxiety, so it really fed into the idea that there is something wrong with my heart. It made my fear of having a heart attack seem so much more realistic. It made me feel like the chances of having something wrong with my heart were much, much higher. Anxiety really played a significant role on the symptoms that I would have involving my heart, whether it be heart rate, blood pressure, chest pains, numbness, tingling. After all, it does affect our circulatory system. And even though it's natural with anxiety and most of the time we're not in any real significant danger with this, it really makes us feel that way, So I just want to talk about the blood pressure issue today. I'll make a video about heart rate tomorrow. But with blood pressure, guys, I could have a wide range of readings, maybe first thing in the morning, or if I was significantly distracted, if I were to check my blood pressure, it might be somewhat normal, maybe slightly elevated. But if I was thinking about it, if I was anxious about it, if I was worried about it, at rest, not even having a panic attack, guys, my blood pressure could be 130, 135 to like 150, over like 90, 95. Again, these are not exact readings. I'm just trying to give you a range. Now, if I was having a panic attack, it could be 160 to 180 over 100. I know that seems crazy, but trust me, I could have those numbers. Anxiety alone could do that to me, especially a panic attack going full on. And of course, it didn't help that I would have all the other symptoms. Obviously, if my blood pressure's at high and I'm having a panic attack, my heart's racing. My chest would tighten up. My left arm would start to tingle and go numb. And if you look up all these symptoms on Google, you're going to run into heart attack. So luckily for me, guys, I did not have a blood pressure machine. The one time that I got a hold of one, which I don't know why I just didn't buy one, but I'm glad I didn't. Maybe I knew if I bought it, I'd be using it all day. My mom was a nurse and she left it over at the house one day. And like I said, I'm glad I didn't have one of these because all freaking day I checked it. All freaking day. I probably checked it 30, 40 times the one day that she left her blood pressure machine. And you're not going to get super accurate readings. So for those of you that are checking, first of all, you can alternate arms, but it takes time for your blood vessels to return to normal to get an accurate reading. So I've been told by nurses and doctors. So for those of you that are checking it every 15, 20 minutes, you may not be getting an accurate reading. I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm not saying that to make you feel like you need to just keep checking all day. The idea is to get away from checking, but I'll get to that in a little bit. But I would do that. Now, whenever I didn't have that machine, which was 99.999% of the time, if I was really worried about it, I would take my butt to Walgreens and I would use their free blood pressure machine. If I wasn't close to there, I'd go to Walmart. If I ever was in Walmart or Walgreens to get something, while I was there, I would check. And almost every single freaking time, my blood pressure would get high. Now, something about checking, I had this thing called white coat syndrome. I've made videos about this in the past, but I'll mention it and talk a little bit about it here. I was afraid of getting high blood pressure readings, especially whenever I would go to the doctor, but this still would happen whenever I would check on my own. I would be worried about it being 140 over like 95, and sure enough, whenever I would check, I could just feel my chest starting to tighten up as that blood pressure machine would start to tighten up on my arm. I would feel my heart rate start to go up, and by the time it was done checking, I felt like I was on the edge of like an anxiety attack or a panic attack. So sure enough, the reading would come back, it'd be bad. I'd feel like, man, oh my gosh, I just wish I could get a good reading sometimes. If I were to go to the doctor's office, the night before, I'm already thinking like, I wonder what my blood pressure is going to be. I wonder what my heart rate's going to be. And this is when white coat would really kick in. If I had an appointment, I remember just working myself up the night before worrying about this. But the next day, I would remember walking into either, the hospital or the doctor's office, wherever I was going for whatever reason. And I could just feel my heart starting to race. And I'm sitting down and they put the pulse monitor on me and I can see my heart rate already going up. Like, it's already like in the 90s because it's elevated because I'm nervous. And then I could see by the end of it, it's like 110, 112, trying to get up to the 120s. And the doctors sometimes they're not super alarmed about that. If you're in there because you're sick or you're not feeling good or if you're in pain, usually that can come with an elevated heart rate and sometimes an elevated blood pressure. Well, whenever it would come to the blood pressure and they would see my numbers, they would act concerned, which did not help the situation. So they're asking me, is hypertension run in your family? Or, any issues with this in the past? Do you have any heart problems? Any of this stuff? Because this number is pretty freaking high, for just chilling here, and there not being any trauma or anything like that going on. And I'm just like, no, I think I have white coat syndrome. So I get a little nervous when I come in here. I'm like trying to convince them that it's not the issue. Or there's no huge issue and that it's anxiety, and they're like, oh, okay. They weren't ever the ones that were going to send me into the ER. Now, bless some of your hearts that have gone in and got your vitals checked and you're just sitting there getting something checked out, maybe a routine checkup, or you're trying to get some antibiotics or something. And then they see like your heart rate's 150, 160. And let me know in the comments if this has happened to any of you guys. And they're like, oh man, this is pretty crazy. This is serious. We got to get you to the ER right now. You could be having a heart attack. There are nurse practitioners, and doctors who will say things like that and scare the freaking crap out of people. I've talked to many people through coaching over the past 5 years, and you'd be surprised how many times that actually pops up in a conversation where they actually got rushed off to a different part of the hospital or recommended to go from a doctor's office to the ER because their numbers are high. And then it just scares the crap out of people and then continue into full-blown panic. Now your blood pressure is super high. Something I would recommend, this is like a bonus tip or something. Some doctors are cool with it and they'll do it. Others are not going to care. Ask your doctor to check it towards the end of the appointment. Once the pressure is off of you, no pun intended. Now I'm more kind of like relaxed a little bit more, there's not as much pressure. I've been talking to the doctor about whatever I need to talk about, and maybe I'm getting a prescription for antibiotics. Maybe they can check it before I leave. Oh, your blood pressure went down 10 ticks or something. Maybe it's still high, but it's not as high as it was. So they can actually see like, okay, that means it's probably something to do with anxiety. But yeah, I would have that issue anytime I was going to get my blood pressure checked. The white coat syndrome would really, really kick in. So I just want you guys to know that really high numbers are very, very common with anxiety. Scary high numbers can happen with anxiety. And trust me, it's not just me. Like I said, I've talked to tons of people personally who've told me they're really high numbers. And again, like 160 to 180 over like 100 reading, that has come up in conversation many, many, many times. So hopefully this video at the very least can make you feel less alone about this. But I can't stress enough. Okay, I've talked about this. I've told you how normal it is. If you haven't been to a doctor to actually get some type of reassurance about your actual heart, maybe that means that you need to go see a specialist, or maybe you've got an opinion but you need another one, go do that. It's better to be safe, okay? And for 99.99% of you guys, this is going to be anxiety, and the blood pressure issues that you're dealing with is just another byproduct of the anxiety that you're experiencing, just like chest pain and heart rate, numbness and tingling and all those things. But you want to be able to do that, because until you do that, and I understand some of you are scared to go get checked. I understand that. I went through that as well. But you're always going to question things if you don't get checked, okay? And maybe for some of you, you need a second or third opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not here to tell you not to do that. In fact, I can't tell you when to stop going to the doctor anyways. That's not my place. That's your decision. That's ultimately going to be something you have to decide. We all have to make that choice at some point, but I can't directly tell you when to do that. I'm not your doctor. I'm not looking at your numbers. I don't have an opinion on that. But until you go get checked out, guys, you're not going to know, and you're always going to question it, so that's why it's good to go. Worst case scenario, if you have some issue going on, you're going to get help for it anyways and get treatment. I wish I would have looked at it. It's a win-win situation, because it's sure you're going to win if it's anxiety, right? And you can get some reassurance, but you're also going to win if you do find out that something is going on, because what if you would have put that off and it became a bigger problem down the road? Now at least you get treatment, you get help for that, and you know what to do. So, and again, that's not going to apply to most of you watching this video, but that's the first step. Go get checked out. Now after this, before I get to the next step and talking about not checking, you're going to have all kinds of different opinions from doctors, and this is just the way it is. I can't help it. Nobody can help it. I don't think that they take classes on anxiety or anything like that whenever it comes to getting their doctor degree, or even trying to be a nurse or being a nurse practitioner or anything like that. So you're going to get all kinds of different opinions. Some doctors are going to scare the crap out of you. Others are going to be like, why are you here? You don't need to be here. This is just anxiety. I promise you on everything that I know. I promise on my mama that there's nothing wrong with you. But just like that, they're also going to have opinions on medication. Just like so many people, again, I keep bringing up coaching because I just want you guys to know that I actively talk to people and help people that go through these situations. So I'm here to share you their stories anonymously. Some people are being recommended beta blockers. Some people are being prescribed blood pressure medicine. But then there's people that I've talked to that either it just never came up, or they said, I'm not prescribing you that. This is anxiety. There's no reason for you to be on a blood pressure medicine. So you're going to get opinions all over the place when it comes to medication. So if you're dealing with that, that's confusing. Again, I understand, and just know that you're not alone with that process or that struggle or that confusion. Again, I'm not here to tell you to take it or to not take it. I will say, me personally, I am happy that I wasn't ever recommended that because, when I got past anxiety, I didn't have blood pressure issues. Also, I was 21 to 26. That's roughly the time frame that I dealt with this. There was no reason, I felt like, for me personally at that age and the kind of shape that I was in and everything like that, no obesity issues, no history with this, that I felt like I needed to be on any type of blood pressure medicine. But I will say there's a lot of people in the 18 to 30-year-old range that are getting prescribed beta blockers and blood pressure medicines a lot. So again, that's a choice that you're going to have to make. Now, on to the next thing. One of the ways that you're going to get better a lot more faster is if you've been checked out, you've been told that you're good and that maybe you don't need any medication for this, and that anxiety is the reason that this is going. Maybe you've gotten 2 or 3 opinions. Maybe you did go to a specialist. The only way that you're going to get out of this fear with your blood pressure it's going to also, believe it or not, it's amazing, but it'll help lower your numbers, is to stop checking. You probably knew I was going to say that. Some of you are hard-headed. I was hard-headed when it came to that, or the heart rate. I knew in the end I was going to have to stop checking, because that first week is going to be uncomfortable when you stop checking, because you're subconscious, like, it's just a habit, right? You think that you're protecting yourself when you check your blood pressure or your heart rate or any vital, your oxygen, your blood, whatever it is that you're checking. All you're doing is directing negative energy to that. You're adding to the problem. You're highlighting that there might be something wrong with your heart, and then we wonder why the symptom continues. Which is why, just like if I'm worried about having high numbers, I end up having high numbers. If you're constantly checking, you're going to send attention there. So you're sending mixed signals. So some of you are trying to work on acceptance of what the doctor told you, but you're checking all day. You're checking all day. That's a mixed signal. So your subconscious doesn't really trust what the doctor said, because you're not backing it up with your actions. Maybe you're trying to say, I accept, or I believe that there's nothing wrong with my heart. But if you're checking all day, the action doesn't match the response. And we wonder why the blood pressure stays high. This is another way of viewing it. Stop living like a heart patient if you want these symptoms to subside. If anxiety is what's causing it and we're giving it negative attention through our responses and our actions like checking, we are actually living like a heart patient, sending negative energy there, and the symptoms will continue. And I'll talk about this more with the heart rate video probably tomorrow. If you're being sedentary, I guess being sedentary can apply to this too, not just heart rate. If you're not wanting your blood pressure to get, so you don't want to move, or you don't want to exercise, you want to go outside if it's warm or hot, you are just adding to the problem, and you're making yourself more sensitive to those things when you begin to do those things. If you haven't, done much aside from watch TV or stay still for the past 3 months, now you want to go outside and mow the yard, guess what? Your symptoms are going to be a little bit more aggravated. Doesn't mean that you're going to drop dead out there. That's not what I'm saying at all. You can still handle that, especially if your heart's good, but you're going to be sensitive to the symptoms that you're experiencing because you're staying in your comfort zone, in your bubble, especially if you've been checking as well. Okay, so a lot of you get triggered like me whenever I check my blood pressure. Now, there's the flip side of this. Some of you are probably thinking, well, Trey, like I check and it gives me comfort. You are still a victim to checking, okay? You are still sending a mixed signal. If you're good, then why are you checking? Okay, so we got to get away from checking. Things get so much easier after that. And, a lot more goes into recovery, guys. If you want more help with your recovery process, if you want to learn the lifestyle, the routine, the mindsets that you need to get past anxiety disorder, especially something like health anxiety, get my course, ELITE Anxiety Bootcamp. That's going to be down below in the description and in the first pinned comment. It's helping a lot of people. I want you to be a part of that. You know, you can go through, see what's all in there, the curriculum, everything, all that good stuff. Check it out, be a part of that. I mentioned coaching a bunch of times on here. If you're interested in that, you can always shoot me an email. That email is going to be down below as well, and I'll send you my information for that, and we'll see if we're a good match. And please subscribe, guys, if you're new. And I'm going to have another video out tomorrow on the anxiety and heart rate dilemma many of you are having, and that's another issue that I had. But I just want you guys to know that you're not alone with this symptom. It's extremely common. It does mess with our acceptance, but the best thing that we can do after getting reassurance is to get away from checking. And then I'm telling you, by that 2 or 3 week mark, it becomes less of a thought. You know, it's first it's an afterthought, and then after that there's not much thought at all. You know, and it's like, oh my God, it's not a problem. I'm not checking. It gets better. I'm telling you, get away from that. Whether you think that you're protecting yourself or whatever it is, even if you're getting comfort from it, you're keeping an issue there. You're keeping a doubt that there, you know, might be something wrong with our heart. That's why I'm having to check. But I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll talk to you tomorrow.